Both you and your child are not lovely. Get out of this house right now.
What? This house is. I stopped mid-sentence. Okay. I started packing my things. My husband was flustered as he watched us.
Wait. You don't have to leave.
But your dear mother told me to leave. I have to obey, right?
Jimmy, don't bother with that woman. Come over here and have some cake.
My mother-in-law had a triumphant look on her face. I decided to knock her down a few pegs and went back to my parents' house with my daughter. My name is Megan, a 34-year-old office worker. I got married to a man named Jimmy 2 years ago. Jimmy and I met through a popular dating app, and after a year of dating, we became a married couple. Although Jimmy was unreliable sometimes, he was a very kind and thoughtful man. When we were dating, he would look up restaurants I wanted to try and plan our dates in advance. Even after we got married, when I was tired, he washed the dishes for me or brought home my favorite dessert. About a year into our marriage, we welcomed a beautiful daughter into our lives. My husband was actively involved in parenting, and I felt fortunate to have met such a wonderful husband. However, as expected, he's not perfect in every way. My husband does have some faults. Among them, the most significant fault is that he's a mama's boy. The first time I suspected that my husband might be a mama's boy was when it came to the taste of food. How is it? Delicious?
It's all right, but I think my mom's was a bit richer.
Wait, your mother? I was puzzled why suddenly his mother's name came up. But upon further conversation, it turned out he considered his mother's cooking to be the best and wanted me to replicate that taste as much as possible. Since my mother-in-law's cooking seems to be generally rich in flavor, I've been trying to make dishes a bit richer as per my husband's request. Even when we go on trips, he always says, "What souvenir should we get for Mom?" He has a father too, so it's normal to think about what to get for parents, but my husband always starts with "for Mom." I suppose if I look at it from the perspective of valuing one's mother, it's a good thing. And I think there are quite a few men who could be considered mama's boys. However, I would later come to realize that my husband's attachment to his mother went beyond what I had expected.
I'm thinking of living with my mom.
Wait, why all of a sudden?
Looks like my mom and dad are getting a divorce.
What? Is that true?
Apparently, it's because of my dad's affair.
I can't believe it. My father-in-law was a kind person, but you can't judge people by appearances.
It's really cruel to leave my mom alone, and besides, if we live together, she can help take care of our daughter.
That does make sense. I'm currently on maternity leave, but with my mother-in-law's support, I might be able to return to work sooner. But I felt a bit uneasy about it. Does my mother-in-law really like me? Will we get along living together? I shared my honest feelings with my husband. Then my husband said,
"Don't worry, it'll be fine. My mom has been praising you."
I was surprised that my mother-in-law had been praising me. That fact made me happy, and I started thinking that we might get along well even living together. However, I soon realized that my thinking was too optimistic. My mother-in-law moved into the apartment where we were living, but she suddenly started to be rude to me.
It kinda annoys me that you're living in such a nice apartment.
Huh?
Don't you ever forget that it's thanks to my son that you have your current lifestyle.
I didn't understand why she was shouting at me. Well, My husband does put effort into his work and household chores, so I guess I'm grateful in a way. Her argument isn't entirely wrong, so I just quietly replied, yes. I'll keep that in mind.
Humph. It's good to be obedient.
After that, my mother-in-law would yell at me whenever there was something she didn't like.
You're supposed to have ketchup with fried eggs. Why is there mayonnaise here? The bath water is too lukewarm. Set it hotter. And why isn't there any ice cream after the bath? Make sure it's stocked.
Seriously, do it all yourself. And the reasons for getting angry are so ridiculous. Despite being at home all day, my mother-in-law hardly does any housework. I had hoped she would be more cooperative in taking care of our 1-year-old daughter, but she only helps when she feels like it and stops as soon as she gets bored. And what I came to realize for the first time after living together was that my mother-in-law's excessive doting on her son was worse than my husband's mama's boy tendencies.
Jimmy, how was work today?
It was really tough. My boss was a bit tense because it was busy, so I had to be careful.
Oh my. That's unacceptable. Maybe I should protest against workplace harassment.
Huh? Over something like that?
It's okay, Mom. We have to have a big heart and forgive.
My goodness. What a kind-hearted boy you are. You're like an angel.
Calling a man in his 30s an angel.
Ha, thanks Mom. But if I can't forgive anymore, I'll need your backup, okay?
Of course.
I feel sorry for his boss. Being protested against for harassment just based on my husband's mood swings. I quickly regretted moving in with my mother-in-law. Being stuck at home with someone like her was driving me crazy. That's why I decided to put my daughter into daycare and return to work. My mother-in-law got angry, saying,
Why do you have to work too?
But when I said, you can spend the day alone at home, you know? She seemed to find some advantages in it.
Well, don't neglect the housework.
She didn't get any angrier. Phew, what a hassle she is. You never know what will set her off. After I started working and had less contact with my mother-in-law, my stress level decreased a bit. But around a year after we started living together, another problem arose. It happened to be our daughter's 2nd birthday that day. We prepared cake, presents, and everything to celebrate, and we had a family birthday party for our daughter. However, our daughter had recently entered the terrible twos phase. It was perhaps the peak of it on her birthday.
Look. It's a present. Open it up.
My mother-in-law handed the gift to my daughter.
No.
But my daughter knocked it away. My mother-in-law was surprised, but she managed to hold herself back at that moment. Then, thinking that maybe the cake would work if the present didn't, my mother-in-law scooped up a bite of cake with a fork and tried to feed it to my daughter.
Here you go. It's your favorite chocolate cake.
No, I don't want it.
But my daughter pushed it away with her hand once again. Then, a bit of cream flipped and landed on my mother-in-law's forehead. That triggered her, who has a short temper, and she exploded in anger at my 2-year-old daughter.
Will you cut it out? You're getting too cocky just because I'm being nice.
My daughter burst into tears at the sudden outburst. What are you doing? She's scared. I hurriedly pulled my daughter close to protect her.
Shut up. She's such an unlovable grandchild.
Then you're an immature grandmother.
What did you say?
Normally, adults don't use such words on a 2-year-old.
Shut up. You're such an insolent daughter-in-law. Can't you control that mouth of yours?
As we argued, my husband jumped in.
Cut it out. Don't insult Mom.
What? Are you taking your mother's side in this situation? Normally, you should take your own daughter's side, shouldn't you?
You can make as many children as you want. But there's only one mom in this world.
That's despicable. You're saying it as if it's some kind of profound quote, but it's garbage.
Hey. Stop talking bad about Jimmy. You and your child are not lovable. Get out of this house right now.
What? This house is. I stopped mid-sentence. Okay. I started packing my things. My husband was flustered as he watched us.
Wait. You don't have to leave.
But your dear mother told me to leave. I have to obey, right?
Jimmy, don't bother with that woman. Come over here and have some cake.
My mother-in-law had a triumphant look on her face. I decided to knock her down a few pegs and went back to my parents' house with my daughter. After that, my husband called me many times, but I ignored them. I proceeded with various preparations and sent the divorce papers to him. It seemed my husband also filled them out and sent them back to me. I promptly submitted them to the city hall. Then, I called my ex-husband.
Hello.
I submitted the divorce papers, so thanks for filling them out.
Ah, so it's okay, it's fine for me and Mom to keep living in this house, right? Since you are the one who decided to leave here with our daughter.
Fine by me, as long as you pay the rent properly.
Ha, well, of course I will. This apartment is rented under your name, so I was a bit worried when you moved out the other day. But if I think about it calmly, all I need to do is change the name on the lease, right? Thanks for providing a comfortable living space for me and Mom.
That's good to hear.
By the way, how much is the rent here?
All right then. How about $1,500 for the rent?
Ha! What are you talking about? Stop joking and tell me the actual rent price.
I'm not kidding. Because I'm the landlord.
Ha!
We talked about this when we got married, didn't we? I made quite a bit of money from stocks in the past, and I used that to buy that apartment. You just assumed it was a rental property. My ex-husband seemed to be completely stunned and fell silent. If $1,500 for the rent is too much for you, I'll put it up for sale properly. That apartment will sell quickly.
Wait. If you do that, where will my mom and I live?
I don't know. Just leave quickly. Otherwise, I'll report it to the management company. With that, I hung up the phone. Then I blocked my ex-husband's number. Afterwards, I demanded child support payments from my ex-husband through a lawyer. According to the lawyer, my ex-husband lost so much weight. Well, it must be mentally and financially tough to support both my ex-mother-in-law and pay child support. By the way, apparently my ex-mother-in-law also attended the discussions, and both my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law were just blaming each other, saying, "It's your fault," non-stop. It's surprising how quickly the relationship between such a closely knit parent and child can fall apart when money and a lavish lifestyle are lost. Or rather, Perhaps they were just only superficially connected. Well, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. On the other hand, the apartment sold for unexpectedly high, so I've saved all of it for my daughter's upbringing. Right now, I'm living with my parents, relying on them, and working hard. I want to be in a relationship again at some point, but right now, my top priority is earning as much as I can for my precious daughter. Oh, but in the future, I'll make sure not to become too overbearing or excessively indulgent with my daughter, taking my ex-mother-in-law as a cautionary example.
By the time dinner was finished, it was already 7:30 p.m. My daughter and son-in-law, who had said they would come back by 6 p.m., left their son Liam behind and haven't been in touch since. Perhaps tired from playing and having a full belly, Liam is now dozing off, looking drowsy as he nods off. But he's also got a bit of sand on him from his exploratory play, so it's time for a bath. Liam is only 5 years old. I fill the bathtub with warm water and prepare Liam's favorite character-themed bath bomb. It's one of those ones that releases a toy from inside, and I'm sure Liam will enjoy it. Bath time. I call out to Liam and James. As Liam woke up, he suddenly exclaimed,
"I don't want a bath. I haven't done anything."
He started running around the house. We were puzzled by Liam's words. After all the playtime, how could he claim to have done nothing? Liam's tense expression left us questioning. Even when we managed to get him into the bath, it was clear that washing himself would be a challenge. As I washed Liam from head to toe, I caught a surprised expression on his face reflected in the mirror. I had no idea why he was acting that way. Perhaps because of this lack of understanding, I was left bewildered, wondering what was going through his mind. Liam hesitantly got into the bathtub, and gradually, his expression softened. Then, he uttered a surprising statement.
"Baths are warm, aren't they?"
Huh?
"I don't like the bath at home. But Grandma's bath is fun and warm. I like it."
As I continued listening, he blamed himself, tears welling up in his eyes. I am Mary Smith. For the past 50 years, I have been born and raised in this town. It's not a place where trains come every 2 minutes like in the heart of the city. Instead, we rely on buses that come approximately once an hour, or we drive our own cars for daily life. Being in the countryside, my parents and relatives encouraged me to spend my entire life in this town. Personally, I don't feel restricted living here. In this area, it's considered normal for women to focus on their homes. After graduating from high school, I married James, whom I met through an arranged marriage. While being a homemaker, James is kind and treats me well, without any domineering behavior. After a few years of marriage, I was blessed with a daughter named Sophia. She is like a precious treasure to us. We made every effort to shield her from societal pressures and gossip. When she was little, it seemed like she enjoyed life in this town. However, the rural customs and mindset didn't quite align with the younger generation, including Sophia. Our relatives, who have lived here for a long time, often criticized her harshly. Gradually, Sophia spent less time at home, and a distance grew between us.
I'll be studying at school today, so I don't need dinner.
Her desire to leave this countryside must have been what motivated Sophia. Starting from high school, she immersed herself in her studies even before we could say anything. Unlike the city, there aren't many tutoring centers or private tutors available. She diligently attended high school classes and stayed for self-study after school. Even the choir club she wanted to join has now become a thing of the past. It seems she prioritized study time over club activities. Sophia's hard work paid off, and she was accepted into her top-choice urban university. Her life as a solo city dweller began. However, since she had already helped with household chores back home, there were no issues. In fact, while juggling part-time jobs and student loans, she managed to navigate university life without relying on us. Of course, we still sent her financial support, but Sophia insisted she didn't want to burden us. Although she accepted the packages we sent, I didn't know what she did with them. It seemed she didn't touch the money I transferred. After graduating from the School of Education without any delays, Sophia became a middle school teacher. She met Michael Pitt, a colleague at her workplace, and they got married during her second year as a working professional. Why does this story feel distant? Well, it's because we haven't had much contact since she entered university. For Sophia, this countryside and our family home are places she'd rather avoid. Sophia once declared,
"I'm not staying in this town. I'll continue living in the city. The transportation is convenient, and I can do anything there."
Over the past decade, we've met Sophia face-to-face only a handful of times, mostly when we visited her city due to James's work. Our interactions usually revolved around dining out as a family of 3. Michael never attended our family gatherings. The only time he and Sophia visited our home was before their marriage.
Since we're getting married, I thought it would be proper to introduce myself.
However, Michael didn't seem particularly interested in our family home. "Since you've come all this way, would you like some tea?" I offered. Michael declined, saying,
"No, thank you."
As for Sophia, she left immediately after the greetings, as if that was the only purpose.
"I have work tomorrow, so I'll head back now. You've seen Michael, so you should be satisfied, right?"
We never had a formal meeting with Michael's parents, and I've never heard any details about them. Whenever I asked, the answers were vague or non-existent. I don't even know his family structure or where he's from. Take care of yourself. And remember to reach out occasionally. We were feeling the loneliness, but unable to convey it to Sophia. We anticipated being ignored if we expressed our feelings. I didn't want to experience the sadness and emptiness of being ignored. Besides, I've heard that being a teacher involves a heavy workload. Both of them serve as club advisors, often working on weekends. Our home is too far from the city where Sophia and Michael live. Perhaps the difficulty of casually returning home contributes to the growing distance. Unbeknownst to us, Sophia has been changing steadily. Yet somewhere deep down, the desire to start anew as a family still lingers. Internally, I harbored a sense of frustration toward Sophia. About 3 years after their marriage, Sophia and Michael welcomed a son. They named him Liam. He's our first grandchild. When we received the news of his birth, we rushed to the hospital. Our plan was to see his face and leave promptly. After all, right after childbirth, both mental and physical fatigue accumulate. Plus, I understood the desire to enjoy uninterrupted parent-child time. Considering it was winter and infectious diseases were prevalent, we didn't want to risk bringing anything into the hospital. Congratulations on the birth. If you need anything, don't hesitate to rely on us.
And occasionally visit our home.
Suppressing the longing to spend more time together, we kept our visit brief. However, even when Liam turned 1, Sophia and Michael still didn't visit our family home. Our desire to see Sophia and Liam intensified after the birth of our grandchild. We tried to maintain contact by spacing out our phone calls. We didn't want to be intrusive, but hearing their voices always made us yearn to see them. If coming here is difficult, we'll come to your place. Or perhaps we could all go somewhere else for a visit? Not necessarily home.
I'm busy with club advising and test grading.
In that case, How about we take care of Liam? We'd love to give you a break, but
Your feelings are enough. I'm too busy to let Liam visit. If you can take him to the zoo or a park for outdoor play, that would be great.
thank you. After that, we started taking care of Liam approximately every 6 months. Sophia would leave Liam with us in the morning at the nearest train station to their home.
I have to accompany the club's competition, so I'll leave him here. I'll come to pick him up around the usual time.
We would then take Liam to places he wanted to visit, such as the aquarium or amusement park. Sometimes, we'd spend the day just watching trains go by. At parks, Liam would run around freely, but in public places like the aquarium or shopping malls, he'd behave quietly. Sophia and Michael both work as middle school teachers, so they've likely instilled good manners in Liam. We praised Liam a lot and played with him. When we gently stroked his head, he was surprised at first, but gradually, a happy expression appeared on his face. Around 6:00 p.m., Sophia would finish work and come to pick up Liam. As we visited more frequently, Liam started crying when it was time to go home. He seemed to understand that we would part ways as evening approached.
I want to play more with Grandma and Grandpa.
We'll see you again soon.
You have kindergarten tomorrow, so we need to head back.
With a tinge of reluctance, we watched Liam's retreating figure. As he grew up, the feeling of not having played enough also arose. I wanted to increase the frequency of play a little more, but Sophia's schedule also played a role. Since he didn't stay at my house, the time we could spend together was short. I have even suggested staying over during long breaks. However, Sophia strongly insisted on all 3 of them sleeping in the same house at night, and that hasn't been realized. I've heard that boys only seek comfort until they're little. As I have only raised a daughter, there are things I don't understand. Sophia often said she wanted to cherish this very moment. I couldn't disregard her feelings as a mother. We conveyed that we were always welcome whenever and were waiting for her contact. When Liam turned 5 years old, we received an unusual phone call from Sophia.
This year, work is more settled, so would it be okay if we spend the Christmas holidays there?
We don't mind at all. You're welcome anytime. Sophia returning to our family home marks the first time in approximately 8 years, since the pre-marriage greetings. Perhaps Liam has become less demanding compared to his infancy, which makes Sophia's visit more feasible. Since receiving her call, we've been eagerly anticipating the rare occasion when our whole family would be together. Although I've always had the tradition of preparing roast turkey and Christmas ham, this year, with more people, I'm putting even more effort into it. Given that Sophia enjoys rib roast, I'll make sure to have extra. And of course, I prepared French fries, Liam's favorite. James, too, had been meticulously cleaning and tidying up the house in anticipation of his first grandchild's stay. As he marked the calendar and counted down the days, I couldn't help but smile. James, though not very talkative, expressed his excitement through his demeanor. It's clear that he was eagerly looking forward to Sophia and her family's visit. Finally, the day arrived. We received a message that Sophia and her family had reached our nearest train station, so we went to pick them up. This area is inconvenient without a car, but it's too far for them to come directly from the city by car. They were making the effort to stay overnight with us, and we wanted to provide the best hospitality possible. Welcome back. Come on in.
Thank you for picking us up.
With beaming smiles, James and I helped Sophia and her family into the car. We assumed that in the first few days they would be spent relaxing at home. However, our expectations were soon overturned.
It's been a while, but nothing has changed around here.
Given the aging population and limited prospects for development, I don't expect much change. Is it okay if we head home?
We have plans with friends, so please take Liam home. Could you drop us off around here?
So, with Liam still in the car, Sophia and Michael got out midway.
We'll be back by 6 p.m. Take care of Liam, okay?
Be a good boy.
As Sophia and Michael left, Liam silently watched their retreating figures. Although he didn't voice it, his loneliness was palpable.
Liam, let's play together. Since this is your first time at our house, how about an exploratory play?
We've got French fries and pudding too. Seeing Liam's forlorn expression, we felt sorry for him. We wanted to make him happy, so James and I teamed up, doing everything we could. As we played with Liam and he enjoyed the treats I made, his smile brightened our hearts. Witnessing our grandchild's laughter was a precious moment of happiness for us. The promised 6 p.m. came and went, but Sophia and Michael didn't return. Not only that, despite our repeated calls, there was no response. Anxiety crept in. Had they been in an accident? The last bus had already passed, and this wasn't a place where taxis were readily available. Our location, surrounded by fields, lacked nearby convenience stores, and the sparse streetlights didn't offer much reassurance. It cannot be said that there was absolutely no possibility of an incident occurring. While preparing to be ready for any communication or pickup request, we waited for news from them. Instead of the planned family dinner for 5, it was just James, Liam, and me around the table. Of course, we had saved portions for Sophia and Michael. To lift my slightly disappointed mood, Liam's beaming smile as he faced his favorite French fries did the trick. He devoured them all, and it was the first time I'd seen him eat so much.
Grandma's homemade food is incredibly delicious.
The French fries I'd prepared specifically for him disappeared entirely. Witnessing his hearty appetite was a new experience for me. By the time dinner was over, it was already 7:30 p.m. Liam, tired from playing and having eaten his fill, was dozing off, looking drowsy as he nodded off. Despite his drowsiness, he had a bit of sand in his hair from their exploratory play, and it was time for a bath. I filled the bathtub with warm water and prepared Liam's favorite character-themed bath bomb. It's one of those that reveals a toy inside, and I knew Liam would enjoy it. Bath time! I called out to both Liam and James. Suddenly, Liam's eyes snapped open, and he declared,
I don't want a bath. I haven't done anything.
Confused, we wondered why he'd say that after a day of playing so much. Liam, I've prepared the bath for you. Get in. I tried to reason with him. But he was too busy darting around the house to listen. He slipped under the table, then raced up the stairs. It was a comical chase. Liam, our 5-year-old grandson, and James and me, a couple in our 50s. Despite helping out with farm work, I suddenly felt my age in every joint and muscle. Finally, with James's help, we managed to corner Liam. His tense expression left us puzzled. It wasn't just about being caught, there was something more to it. We couldn't quite grasp why he'd react this way after losing a simple game of tag. Liam's face held a deeper secret, one that intrigued and concerned us both. Having made him to the changing area, Liam hesitated to undress, so ultimately, we helped him change. It seemed challenging for him to wash himself, so I carefully washed his hair, down to his toes. Through the mirror, I could see his surprised expression. Why was he acting this way? I had no clue, and that uncertainty left me puzzled. Liam gingerly stepped into the bathtub, and gradually, his expression softened. Then, he uttered a surprising statement.
Baths are warm, aren't they?
Considering his previous behavior, I sensed that something was bothering Liam. Perhaps it was related to his aversion to baths. Unsure of how to approach the topic, Liam began to explain.
Well, baths are where I can be splashed with water, right? So why do I need to take off my clothes?
No, baths are for cleaning your body and getting warm. Why would anyone splash water on you? Liam hesitated but finally shared.
Mom and Dad say I'm a bad kid. They threaten to punish me and always take me to the bath.
Despite his parents' words, Liam refrained from blaming them directly. Instead, he blamed himself, nearly on the verge of tears. It was a heartbreaking moment.
I don't like the bath at home, but Grandma's bath is fun and warm.
Just a while ago, Liam had looked like he was about to cry, but now, as he soaked in the tub, he wore a smile. I hugged him tightly. Surely, he'd faced many hurts we didn't know about, and I wanted to protect this smile forever. Despite his reluctance, we managed to convince Liam to get out of the bath before he got too overheated. As I dried his hair, I realized he probably hadn't been to a barber either. It tugged at my heart. But I also understood that Sophia's work was indeed demanding. With Liam snuggled into the freshly made, soft bed, he fell asleep quickly. I thought I would play and make him enjoyable tomorrow. I resolved to cherish this moment, gazing at Liam's peaceful sleeping face. After confirming that Liam had fallen sound asleep, I confided in James about the bath incident.
I see, that's quite concerning.
His expression grew serious as he listened to my account. It seems Liam's aversion to baths and the sudden crying before parting were related. I continued. I'd also noticed something in the bathroom. Take a look at this. Liam's body, now peacefully asleep, bore numerous bruises. Some minor bruises were expected for a 5-year-old boy, but the sheer quantity on Liam was abnormal. Each one was hidden beneath his clothes. Bruises on his stomach and back were particularly concerning. Those were places where someone would intentionally inflict harm. While Liam freely played in some areas, he displayed an unchildlike maturity in public. He wasn't the type to pick fights or act out. James clenched his fists, clearly unable to tolerate this situation.
Even when dealing with one's own child, there are things that are permissible and things that are not. This is absolutely unacceptable.
He immediately called Sophia and Michael, but neither of them answered. I want to protect Liam right away. I wonder where I should turn for help in situations like this.
Going to the Child Protect Service might take time. Considering its violence, even if it's against the child, let's contact the police.
James bravely made the call to the police. Even if Sophia were my biological daughter, I have no recollection of raising a person who would raise her hand against another, let alone her own child. Please let it be a lie. Such thoughts, which could also be seen as escapism, were floating in my mind. However, looking at Liam's expression in the bath with that bruise, I couldn't help but recognize the harsh reality. Why didn't I notice sooner? I'm furious at my own dullness. Despite it being 10 p.m., the police arrived at our house promptly. Although I had explained the situation to some extent over the phone, I needed to provide specific details on the spot. As I showed the police the photos of Liam's bruises that I had taken, Sophia and Michael returned home.
Is this your son?
Yes, but what's the matter?
Michael's tone grew stronger as he confronted the police officer.
We've received a report about multiple bruises on his body.
He's a boy, so he plays around and sometimes gets bruises.
It's unlikely that bruises would appear in these locations just from normal play. Also, your son mentioned that he was doused with water from the head.
Well,
The two of them couldn't answer the police officer's questions, and gradually, their voices faded. Michael, who had been assertive with the police, was no longer the same. After a brief silence, Sophia began speaking frantically.
It's all Liam's fault. Despite being a teacher's child, he's performing poorly. It was just a minor punishment.
Blaming everything on Liam. Sophia and Michael started insisting that they had no choice but to do what they did. Their words infuriated me. However, if I lost my temper and confronted Sophia and Michael now, I'd be on the same level as them. Suppressing the urge to raise my voice, I waited for the police officer's next move. Suddenly, James, who was standing next to me, headed somewhere. He returned promptly, carrying a bucket in both hands. In the next moment, he poured the entire bucket of water over Sophia and Michael's heads. Even the police officer and I were taken aback. James stared at the two of them with an expressionless face and said,
I've only returned a small portion of what you did to Liam. Never set foot in our house again.
The police officer turned to Michael and Sophia, asking,
Could you please provide more details at the station?
Sophia reluctantly replied,
Fine.
Sophia and Michael headed to the police station with the police officer. The commotion had become quite significant, and it seemed that Liam had also woken up. Don't be scared anymore. Let's all rest together tonight, I reassured Liam. In an attempt to alleviate Liam's fear, James, Liam, and I climbed into bed side by side. I couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of anxiety about what would happen next. However, there was no use dwelling on it now. I had to convince myself that this was the only way to protect Liam. As a result of investigations by the police and Child Protective Services, Sophia and Michael were formally arrested. Apparently, in addition to what Liam had told me, they had subjected Liam to various mistreatments. At times, they even withheld meals from him, and when his bruises were severe, they kept him home alone instead of sending him to kindergarten. The kindergarten teacher had also sensed something amiss and had set up a system to observe Liam more closely. His smile while eating French fries and large portions of food were likely related to these events. The fact that Sophia and Michael were arrested was reported in a small local newspaper in their area. Since it was a case of naming names, their workplace was quickly identified. Naturally, the news also reached our rural community. For a while, Liam stayed home from kindergarten due to concerns from other parents. Our neighbors bombarded us with various questions. While some were understanding, others were harsh in their words. Still, it was comforting to hear that everyone agreed that reporting the incident was the right thing to do. Given their arrest and the cause being child abuse, even if they were released on bail, they likely wouldn't be able to work in their original fields. On that day, James pouring water over them in front of the police officer was resolved as a warning. Meanwhile, Liam began living with us. He will start elementary school next year. Although there was a school nearby, it had only one class per grade, and the number of students was small. Additionally, rumors circulated about his parents' arrest. In this small countryside, gossip could be detrimental. We decided to establish a new home not far from the house where Sophia and Michael had lived. We couldn't let go of the house itself because it had been passed down through generations and had a family garden. Liam also expressed a desire not to be separated from the friends he had made in kindergarten, so we started splitting our time between the two places. Initially, Liam was fearful of his parents' shadows.
Did I do something wrong by causing all this?
You're okay, Liam. You're a good kid.
The words from his parents during his early years had left a lingering curse. We worked hard to create an environment where Liam could feel safe and gradually remove that curse. He safely enrolled in the elementary school near his original home, where he made new friends alongside his existing ones. Witnessing Liam's heart gradually soften brought us immense joy. Now, several years later, it seems that Liam is living freely and comfortably. Except for times when he catches a cold or feels unwell, he attends school every day, and sometimes hangs out with friends before coming back home. On weekends and holidays, he helps out with rural farm work and household chores. He's also started new extracurricular activities.
I want to try playing soccer. I asked Dad before, but he said no.
That's fine. Try everything, and see what suits you. Gradually, Liam began sharing his feelings and thoughts with us. As grandparents, we stepped into the role of actual parents. Despite the challenges posed by our age and occasional back pain, we even participated in the parent-child relay race during the school sports festival. During a recent open school event, Liam wrote about us in an essay titled "The Person I Admire."
The people I admire are Grandma and Grandpa. They always think about me and tell me when something is wrong.
We want to continue protecting that smile on his face. Hearing his essay, James and I were moved to tears and reaffirmed our commitment to Liam's well-being.
How did you find this story? If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing to our channel. Until next time.